Craig Brain is not your brain or my brain. Love it or hate it or something in between. Welcome to the squishy, alien middle inside of this dude's skull. Take a peek. Take a peek.
Good day to you all. I always wonder, how do you start these? But this is Craig. You're listening, watching, reading. Craig Brain. Episode 9. And it's called My 9 Questions. Who do you listen to? Just appropriately that Levi put this at episode 9. I mean, that's why that guy thinks the way he does. I would just be like, put it out there whenever. Even the categories and the stuff that he's kind of helped me put this together. So my 9 questions is funny. Before we were shooting this, I'm in the studio with Nolan and with Tristan, and I'm wearing this outfit. If you're watching, you can see, and if not, I'm going to stand up. I see if you can get the full. I mean, it's I don't know what it is. I mean, you got to watch it, but it's like, I mean, if you're seeing this shot before I stand up, it just looks like a cool kind of baggy shirt, but then it kind of turns into a dress, jacket, cardigan, blouse, I don't know, all of it. And it was on clearance. Lady that sold it to me is like, yeah, that's a hot item, but normally clearance doesn't scream out hot item. Oh, it's the last one. And I was like, yeah, it's the last one because it's kind of dumb, but I kind of like dumb things. And I kind of don't care, and it's kind of a conversation starter. So I bought it. And I didn't really care that Nolan didn't like it because I liked it. And my son's a lot like that as well. Like, he's wearing an all-star volunteer jacket with, you know, a little brown stain on it. It was from 1987's All-Star game. Nolan's never been to a baseball game in his life, but the jacket's cool. He's got pearl necklace on, like a fancy watch. I don't know, $30 shoes. Sometimes they're like $600 shoes, but now it's like $30 shoes he bought at Big Five Sporting Goods. Like that's like Dad just bought a clearance at a cool Brooklyn store shirt, but like Dad's weird. But we were all talking about it because it was like, hey, who do you listen to? And on some things, it's like, yeah, my 16-year-old is going to have a different... Well, actually, we have a lot of similar opinions on clothes and shoes, but he's not going to listen to me on what he should wear. And just like I'm not going to listen to him on what I should wear, but on some things. But now that Tristan said he didn't like it, and he was nice how he said it, I might... actually, the way my wife said is, I'll throw away my camo jacket. I hate women in camo, and that sounds... However that sounds, I don't like jerseys, football jerseys on women either. And that sounds, whatever you think of it, I don't really care. It's my preference. Something about like a football fan, like I bought my wife a vintage jacket that Nolan and I found, a Rams jacket. That was rad. But like the jersey with the name on it, it's like Nolan, we were at a Packer game and there's 2 girls in jerseys. They were from Wisconsin and Nolan's kind of attracted to the Wisconsin accent. And they were attractive girls. And then he heard them talking about their fantasy team, and they knew every player, and they had jerseys. And Nolan's like, yeah, I don't know. That ain't it, Chief. And he was like, that's just a little too much. So you want like a little football knowledge, but you don't want like the girl at our pool at our complex. Like, she throws the best spiral out of everybody in our apartment complex. And it's kind of intimidating, but it's also like, oh, like I don't want the girl to throw a better spiral. So whatever, if you want to call that sexist, that's just like why I was saying about camo. I just don't like this camo jacket. And so she said, I'll throw away the camo jacket if you throw away that shirt. So we've not made that decision yet. But who do you listen to? This was man, when I talk about like a fun experiment, talking last week, resentment, that brings up a bunch of just junk and garbage and stuff that just is messy. So along this journey, how I kind of got here is I had a friend who did some coaching. And like I've said before, I like coaching. So I was like, oh, I mean, I'm kind of, kids are grown out of soccer now. that I can't coach that. And I'm going to coach my son's soccer team with him. Like, that's the goal, being a grandpa and being able to coach still. I'll be the same age as all those like badass AYSO referees too. And I'll be like their age and I'll be on the coaching side. That's going to be fun. Because those referee old mans have no lives and they just like beating up on those kids. So that's going to be a fun one. But I told my friend said I have this coach and he was amazing. And so I met with him and he's like, hey, you'd make a good coach. And I was like, oh, you know what? I've kind of thought about like, what does that look like? And so I he said, well, our company could certify you. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? He's like, well, you're certified and you would pay us 40% of all your coaching money that you ever make. And I was like, well, that sounds dumb. I've never heard of your company, but I had heard that this dude was good. So he's like, it's $2,500 and it's 4 coaching sessions. I was like, okay, that's cool. And with each of our top coaches. And then at the end of it, there'll be some kind of homework for you in between each of these episodes or interviews, coaching kind of deals. And then you can decide if you want to pay the full fee, which would be like $25,000 for our full certification. So to become a coach now, it would cost $2,500 up front and $25,000 a year of my life doing that, and then 40% of all the money that I ever make from coaching. If that's not an effed up like business like to get into, find me one. And so I was like, yeah, sure, sign me up. And it was cool. It was some good experiences, but man, this has to be amazing for you to like do that plan. And I didn't even know if I was ever going to. I didn't even know. I had no goal of like, I'm going to become a coach. It was like, this would be fun. I could learn something. First 2 things, okay. Like, not really probably worth the price of admission. Kind of some of my similar thoughts on like therapists. You got to find a really good one. But it honed me in on what I really like. Like, what would make this amazing? Oh, if you knew my business, if you knew my ministry, if you were wired like me, if you were maybe not wired like me, but understood people like me, not just like, here's some practices and techniques that like will work in any industry. But if this guy really had honed in on like understanding, like, man, I'll pay for that. That's more of like a mastermind type thing. And so the one experiment that this guy gave me, and it's free for you. It cost me $2,500, but he said, hey, Craig, here's a series of questions. I want you to take these and send them to 5 people that you know. And there was 9 questions. And so he said on the experiment, he said, send it to your wife and send it to other people that you know that are close to you. And then get the answers back. And then by next week, like, we could talk about it. And so the 9 questions, they're all on the written blog. You can read each of those. They don't make sense when you send them out. You're like, what are they really trying to get at? But what you got back, if you're sending it to the right people. Now, here's like a big thing. I had a friend send it, and I talked to my friend about his results. And he goes, you know what I told him to do? Send it to a former employee that's quit. Send it to somebody that, knows you in a deeper way. Don't just be like, oh, here's secretary that works for me now. Like, please fill this out. Like, no, send it to people that can give you honest answers. And for me, I did that. I sent it to somebody that's worked for me for 15 years, somebody that's worked with me for 7 years, my wife, like really good friends. And I think I sent it to more than 5 people because I was like, this is fun. Like, and I got these answers back. And for me, once again, we talk about assessments and we talk about, our giftings and what we should do. When your friends and family tell you what you're good at, where your blind spots are, where you could be going. One of the questions on there is like, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you like to see me do? And when you give your friends that permission, like that's to dream, to just say, no, give it to me. And when they can receive it, man, it's pretty incredible. So just for context, you can read all about it. Like I said, there's a lot here. I get into on this post, like all the things I learned about myself. I think one of the tells for me was like your greatest strengths are also your greatest weaknesses. So people have said like, I'm such a quick start and you can take something from idea to implementation, faster than anybody. And then they also said like, you go too quick and you're impatient with me and this and that. So it's just like that same thing where you go, oh man, that's good over here, bad over here. And so what I did with my list was I just made 2 journal entries, and one was all the positives, one was all the negatives. That's how I saw it. I'm more like a tangible kind of black and white guy on that. And I was like, bad, good. Good. Oh, wow, I need to do more of this. Bad, I need to work on this. And I didn't ever pay for my 4th coaching session with this company because I was like, awesome, let me just now go do this work and save myself some money and just maybe find some other rooms. So, for me joining a mastermind right after that, I was like, screw that. No, I spend this money to go over here and get around these people. And then out of that, like I've been able to create a couple mastermind groups as well. And it's been fun. One of the things that we've done after our first meeting is I sent every person home with those questions. And at our second meeting, we spent about 3 hours with big pieces of white paper, put it up on the windows, and they wrote down like, here's my top like negative things that I learned about myself, the top positives. And then they starred the thing that was the hardest to hear. And then we took pictures next to our whiteboards. And my friend Drew said to me, he's like, man, this is so like humbling. Like when my wife says these things about me in the middle of a fight, like there's no way like I ever admit to it. But like I just wrote this thing and I'm standing by it and taking a photo by it. And you're like, yeah, that's me. Love it or hate it. Like, and that's the work I want to maybe be doing more of and the work that I want to be doing less of. And so do with it what you want. I mean, if you're scared of the answers, don't send it. If you're scared of really finding out what it is people really see in you, send it. I sat with a good friend yesterday, and I was at his 40th birthday party this year. His name's Dave, and Dave Tosti, and we've known each other almost like 20 years. And they had asked me to start like not a toast, but like everyone share a thought about Dave at his birthday party when he turned 40. And it went on for like an hour and a half. One guy wrote a song. He wrote a song. I mean, there was some just deep conversation there. But I think it was Denise who said at the very end, and I think I said it at the very beginning, was like if Dave could see and hear what all his friends are really saying to him tonight and see himself in that way, like, hold on, world, like watch out. And I think a lot of us never have heard it. I know for Dave that night, that's probably the most special part of his 40th birthdays, was hearing those words spoken to him. And so if you're not around people that do those things, or if you're not around people that have ever expressed that, hey, I listened to this podcast and there's this exercise like somebody told me to do. And maybe that's just a start of you getting something back that you've been waiting to hear. And maybe it's the start of getting something back that you're like, I didn't want to hear it, but I needed to hear it. And the sad part is I sat with a friend of mine after he had done it. And I said, so what did you learn? And he told me, man, I learned that this is what I'm best at. And I said, how much of your time do you spend doing that? And he said, 10%. And I was like, all right, man, that's the work that you got to do to make that shift. And so if you're wondering why you're stuck, you're wondering why you're frustrated, you're wondering why things are kind of looking the way they are, maybe that's it. So that's all I got. 9 questions, episode 9. Hey, we got a Facebook group. I think you hear that in that voice that plays after I stop talking. That's my friend Matt's dad. That's like a voice. Like that would just be fun if I had that. But anyways, you can join the Facebook group. Check out us at Facebook, the Craig Brain Group. I'm in there. We do some lives. We do some things on there that you're supposed to do online. I'm not on TikTok yet, but maybe. My son tells me it's a place that I should never visit, but I'm hearing otherwise. So maybe soon. Anyways, thanks for watching.
Thanks for thinking through Craig Brain. This podcast is only a small summarized part of a larger conversation. To read the full story, check out www.craigbrain.com, join the Craig Brain group on Facebook, and follow at Craig Gross on whatever social suits your fancy.